suspects arrested in connection with the murder of former Bafana captain Senzo Meyiwa expected to appear at the Boksburg Magistrates Court tomorrow. Now, to take us through the technicalities and processes that follow after such arrests, I'm now joined by Allis, who is a criminal lawyer. Ian, thank you so much for your time. Now, some have suggested that the case of Senzo Meyiwa is a classic case that justice was delayed here. How prevalent is it that cases take this long, particularly in high-profile cases?
Unfortunately, this is becoming a lot more of the norm because of the investigative processes as well as the high-profile nature of these matters. There's often a lot of complications and publicity as well as reporting on the matters before they actually can be fully investigated. And what happens when fully investigating these matters, the investigating officers themselves are placed under quite a high degree of scrutiny, if one could actually say that, in order to procure the right results and to ensure that it is fully investigated properly. And in certain regards, yes, justice delayed is justice denied, but also justice rushed could result in justice being crushed.
Now, talking about particularly in terms of investigations, in this particular case, a suspect was initially arrested, but the case was thrown out of court by a presiding magistrate at the time. Now, talk to us about the processes that follow during a murder case, from arresting a suspect, charging them, to bail applications, as an example.
Okay, let me put it to you this way, and this is where people get very, very confused. They actually just believe that a murder case makes something a lot more intricate. Whether it's a common assault or whether it's a murder case doesn't actually change the investigative process that's involved. It just basically may be protracted more because of your witnesses and your evidence coming into further scrutiny, because obviously in a murder case, there's a lot less, the primary witness is no longer with us. So the way it will work in an investigation like this, initially, as soon as the crime is in actual fact reported, it's got to be investigated, and whatever evidence and statements are possible must be collected immediately. There can also be certain times witness testimony that can be given, indicating that there were certain people at the scene of a crime, and that there can be an identity parade to assist in isolating one specific suspect. But as what could also happen in a certain aspect like that is that the state is not necessarily, or the police are not in a position to have finalized all the investigations. A suspect is taken into account. The state is not has not guaranteed all of its facts in order to secure a rightful conviction, and the matter gets thrown out on the basis that the accused was not the correct person. As far as a bail application, bail applications are normally heard within a very, very quick amount of time from the initial crime from the initial arrest, because everybody is entitled to be taken to court within 48 hours of their arrest, where at that stage a bail application will usually be set either immediately, or in a case of a higher profile or scheduled crime such as murder, for the police to verify all the various statuses relating to the person, that they are indeed a South African, they have ties to the community, and thereafter the matter can proceed to a bail application in terms of Schedule 5 and 6.
Now, Ian,
will then be determined by a magistrate whether the person is entitled to bail.
Now, Ian, before I lose you due to technicalities, let me ask this question. What are the risks of conducting investigations and dealing with criminal cases publicly? Now, we've seen many different versions and variations of events play out. In this particular case of Senzo Meyiwa, what are the risks of doing this publicly? I mean, the Minister of Police held a press briefing earlier, and then he said despite heavy criticism from some quarters, he's always maintained that he's satisfied with the murder investigations. But this has been a very public and very lengthy case.
The problem is that when you try it in the public realm is not a legal realm. And people have different views and different insights into it. And the problem is that 90% of that is completely and utterly irrelevant because it's taken what we assume from watching television and ideas like that. So you're going to end up with very skewed views. And still, then what essentially can happen is evidence that should in actual fact be kept secret becomes more and more public. And people who are arrested falsely and incorrectly get charged, and they charge in the public opinion and not in fact in law. So from that point of view, your ramifications on a trial by, if one could say, public inquiry it creates massive complications into the whole issue.
Talking about complications, now we know a couple of days after Senzo Meyiwa was gunned down in Vosloorus, a suspect was arrested by the Special Police Task Team, and at the time the NPA said that it was confident that it had sufficient evidence that would place the matter into the court roll. Now we have 5 suspects that have been arrested. What are some of the key steps that can ensure the right people are arrested and successfully convicted?
Unfortunately, there's no hard and fast guarantee. And there are many, and just as there are many guilty people behind bars, or shall I say there's many guilty people walking around the streets, there are a lot of innocent people behind bars. There's no hard and fast rule and there's no formula. It comes down to overall the method of the police work and the quality of the policing that is done in investigating the crime and the evidence at hand, and whether or not that evidence can in actual fact sustain a conviction and a true prosecution, not a rushing of just trying to see if somebody is available, whoever is most easily convenient in order to try and prosecute to get authority, to get the higher up powers off their backs. That's where the problem often comes in a scenario like this.
Now, Ian, very quickly before I let you go, 5 suspects have been arrested, but one of them has been, fingered to be the one that actually pulled that trigger. What's likely to happen over the next couple of days? We know that they are appearing in court tomorrow.
Well, the thing is, they'll appear in court. They'll probably apply for bail. The bail will either be granted or will be refused, and in that way, the legal process with regards to the court standings of finalising investigations, preparing the matter for trial, any further representations or other legal questions and remedies will be requested, and after a while the matter will be referred to trial.
Fantastic. Ian, thank you. That is where we have to leave it for this afternoon. Thank you so much for your time. That was Ian Allis, who is a criminal lawyer, helping us there to unpack just some of the technicalities and processes that will follow now that 5 suspects have been arrested in the Senzo Meyiwa's case. Now,